Alright, final mini review of October. Let's do this. Today's movies are Halloween and Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie. I didn't watch the first Rob Zombie Halloween movie until last year on Halloween Day because it had been 9 years since its release, so I figured it's probably about time I gave this a watch, and I'd avoided checking out these movies because I love the original Halloween, and the first few sequels of the original franchise I actually do enjoy. And I also really like the work of Rob Zombie. While I'm not much of a music person, I have listened to a few of his songs and I really enjoy them. And as for his movies, I really love House of a Thousand Corpses. It's one of those movies I make a tradition to try to watch every October. And The Devil's Rejects is just an incredible ride to sit through. And I thought his animated film, The Haunted World of El Superbeasto, was a wonderfully twisted, vulgar comedy. And these movies had gotten a ton of extremely negative reviews and opinions over the years, so I was really nervous to give them a watch, afraid it would hurt my perception and views of Rob Zombie and my love for the original Halloween. And I finally saw the first movie last year, and after I watched it, one word came to my mind after I sat through it. HATE! Oh my fucking god! Rob Zombie's Halloween was horrible! This movie is so awful that I put it up there as one of the top 10 worst films I have ever seen in my whole life! The writing, the directing, the cinematography, the editing, even the music is dreadful. And almost every actor in this film is just unbearable. And some of these people I know can actually be good actors, so maybe it was Rob Zombie's direction. It's hard to say. You put 12 characters from Rob Zombie's Halloween in the same room, and 10 to 11 of them are going to be some of the most painful movie characters you will ever watch in your entire life. Not even Malcolm McDowell could come out of this film looking good. Caligula gave him 100 times more dignity than this piece of shit. And Scout Taylor Compton as Laurie Strode is one of the most insufferable, painful to watch cunts I have ever seen put on film. And I honestly can't tell she's a good actress because this is what Rob Zombie wanted the character of Laurie Strode to be. So maybe she's a horrible actress, or maybe he gave her the direction to be painful, or maybe it was a little bit of both. But as excruciating as Rob Zombie's version of Laurie Strode is, I will give him the smallest bit of credit for not making the character a carbon copy version of John Carpenter's Laurie Strode. Rob Zombie's Halloween starts with Michael Myers as a little kid in an abusive family, and the film tries to push the idea that it was the bad family that turned him into a psychotic serial killer. This is the first half of Rob Zombie's Halloween, and every character is so unpleasant to watch that by the time the killing scenes start, by the time the horror scenes start, there's just no feeling of suspense or shock, because everything up to this point has been so bad and unpleasant that it's desensitized you to anything that's actually supposed to be terrifying and emotional. And then with the second half, we cut to Michael Myers as an adult, and from this point, it's pretty much just a sped up copy of John Carpenter's version, except every character says fuck in between every single word and every single goddamn sentence. If there's anything else I have to say about Rob Zombie's Halloween, it is that it is lazy, unoriginal, not fun to watch, and it is an insult to the original Halloween, an insult to the horror genre, and most of all, it is an insult to John Carpenter. Watching this movie, I could not believe that Rob Zombie was the director, because it felt more like it was made by a director who hates horror movies and was forced by some producer to make one, and he decided to let his hatred of the genre be visible in every single frame. That, above all, is what really hurts about this movie. So, almost a year later, I finally checked out Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And unlike the first movie where I went in with an open mind, not knowing what to expect, this movie I was watching prepared for the worst. And it is fucking bad, but not as bad as the first one. The first 30 to 40 minutes of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 was actually very watchable and pretty interesting, and were some really good parts. But then around the middle part, Scott Taylor Compton starts to wail, screech, whine, cry, and bitch, and it just becomes the first fucking movie all over again. And while we get the same type of camera work and editing in part 2, there are actually some pretty well done shots and visual work here, but they get followed up by the same crappy shaky cam and quick cuts. But nonetheless, the second film is a little, not a lot, but a little easier to watch than the first film. And the ending of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is beautifully shot. It's one of the biggest what the fuck endings you will ever see in a horror film, but style-wise, production design-wise, music-wise, it is beautiful to watch. I'm not even close to figuring out what Rob Zombie meant to say with this ending, but at the very least, it's nice to watch. And this film did something that pissed off a lot of Halloween fans. Michael Myers is, at the very end, unmasked, and that's not what pissed people off, because an unmasking scene from Michael Myers is very welcome, and it's been done before. But what happens when he's unmasked at the end? Michael Myers talks.
Michael, for God in heaven.
Yeah, he fucking spoke. And I know we get scenes of him talking as a little kid, but this just kind of breaks the character that we know as an adult, and as awful as these movies are, there are two actors in these movies that I feel actually did a good job and managed to come out with some dignity. Tyler Mane as the adult Michael Myers. While the illusion of Michael Myers is pretty much ruined by all the scenes we get of him as a kid, he really knows how to play the character. And yeah, I know, he's a fucking giant, but if that's your biggest problem with these movies, then you need help. He really knows how to convey a lot simply with his body movement, and he masters the slow-moving but threatening walk of the character. And the other actor who I feel was very decent in these movies was Brad Dourif as Sheriff Brackett. Now, this character is not given a ton of screen time or any real development, but the very few scenes we get with the character are by far the best written scenes in these movies, and it's Brad Dourif. He is a terrific actor and brings so much to this pretty small character and be the highlight of these movies. I love Rob Zombie's earlier films, and it is clear he loves the horror genre, so watching these movies was just heartbreaking. I look at a film like The Devil's Rejects, and then I look at these two and I wonder, what happened? Am I turned off from watching the rest of his work? No, I still like the stuff that he did well, and who knows, maybe he'll strike gold again one day. As for these two, I do not recommend this piece of shit. As for this movie, it's bad, but there are certain parts of it that I wouldn't mind going back and rewatching. Only certain parts, but it's more than I can say for the first film. So that's it. I hope you've had an enjoyable October so far, and I hope the rest of the month is great, and have a happy Halloween.